In 2120, humanity has found 3 ways to become immortal: cybernetically enhanced humans called cyborgs, artificially intelligent beings called synths, and synthetic beings with a downloaded human consciousness called hybrids. Which of these technologies prevails will decide what company rules the universe. The spaceship known as Maginot has been on a mission for 65 years when the pods open so that the crew can take a break from cryosleep. Captain Dinsdale informs them that the comms are down and the log files are corrupted, but he blames it on a glitch. They're also burning too much fuel, so he wants them to shut down one of the systems. Mechanic Shemuel says they should get rid of the creatures that the scientists brought on board, but security cyborg Moro reminds them that the specimens are the mission. Scientist Chibuzo feeds all the strange aliens that the ship is carrying. Some are small and kept in capsules, but others are bigger and more dangerous. Now that all systems have been checked, the crew can go back to sleep. On Earth, there's a research facility called Neverland that belongs to the Prodigy Corporation. Kirsch is teaching Marcy about scorpions, but they're interrupted by Dr. Sylvia, who announces that everything is ready. It turns out Marcy is terminally ill, so she's taken to the operating room to transfer her mind into a synthetic body. Company founder Cavalier explains that Marcy will be the first person to go from a human body into a synthetic one, so she'll become the first hybrid. Marcy is connected to the machine and she revisits her childhood memories as her mind passes to the new body. Sometime later, Marcy is healthy and can do amazing things like jumping from huge heights. She also uses the name Wendy now. Since synthetic bodies can't grow, she's been given an adult body, but she still has a child's mind. Kirsch explains that fake bodies can't create the hormones that make human moods, so Wendy won't have them anymore. Sylvia shares that other children are arriving at the facility soon and Prodigy needs her assistance with their transitions. Wendy chats with the kids and shows them how strong her new body is by letting them hang on her arms. One by one, all the kids receive new bodies and forget about their illnesses. The group gets nicknamed the Lost Boys. On the Maginot, a mysterious creature runs through the ship, bringing chaos and destruction as the crew screams in horror and the alarm echoes in every corridor. Moro hides in the computer room and talks to the ship's AI, explaining that all the specimens are loose now. Suddenly Zaveri starts pounding on the door asking for help, but instead of opening, Moro transforms his arm into a blowtorch and seals the door shut. Soon the creature finds Zaveri and attacks her while Moro tells the AI that the whole crew is dead. In the corridor, Zaveri tries her best to defend herself against the alien known as a xenomorph. However, the alien is too strong and quickly kills her. Then the xenomorph starts pounding on the door and breaks the glass while Moro explains to the AI that the ship will need to crash on Earth because containing the creatures is the priority. The alien is now pushing the door open, so Moro opens a hatch on the floor and hides in the impact room, which automatically gets sealed. The xenomorph keeps pounding on it, but Moro just gets ready for the crash. Meanwhile, Hermit arrives in the city of New Siam, which is run by Prodigy. Wendy watches him on the security cameras while commenting on his story. He works for Prodigy too and thinks his sister Marcy is dead. Seeing him again reminds her of their childhood together. While Hermit is on a roof talking to his co-workers, they suddenly feel the building shaking. At that moment, the Maginot crashes in the city with a huge explosion. Hermit and his team rush downtown to evacuate people and guide them to avoid the falling debris from the destroyed buildings. While the team searches the wrecked ruins for survivors, they come across the ship and get inside through a hole in the hull. Back to Moro, he uses his transformed arm to escape the impact room. He wanders through the ship, finding the crew's bodies all over the place. When he sees Hermit's team on the security camera, he calls the ship's company Wayland Yutani to warn them. In Neverland, Cavalier announces they'll keep everything they find on the ship. Wendy sees her brother on the security footage and says her team should go too. Cavalier agrees to let them out under Kirsch's supervision. On the Maginot, 2 members of Hermit's team search for survivors. As the soldiers find the bodies, a leech-like alien descends from the ceiling and crawls into their shirts. Suddenly Moro appears and takes them hostage after making them drop their weapons. He handcuffs them both to the pipes while asking where to find Cavalier. After Moro leaves, the bugs crawl to the men's heads and slowly drain their bodies to death. In the Sleep room, Hermit and 2 friends find the pods full of bodies. When they try to inform headquarters, the radios have too much static to talk. Hermit looks at the crew's terrible injuries and concludes that they've been dead for a week. They move to the next room without noticing the alien in one of the pods. In the med bay they find even more bodies. Hermit realizes the crew breathed in toxins and that something escaped from a victim's esophagus. Afterward, the trio leaves the ship and continues to search the building, unaware that a xenomorph is following them. They take the stairs and discover that the next door is across a big hole. Rashidi jumps first and gets a painful landing. Siberian jumps next and the floor breaks, but Rashidi catches her just in time. Before Hermit can jump too, he sees some saliva falling on his shoulder and looks up to find the xenomorph on the ceiling. A terrified Hermit makes the jump, but the xenomorph attacks him in the middle of it, causing him to fall to the next floor. The xenomorph chases after him, so Hermit runs to get in the elevator to escape, and as it goes down, he uses the radio to ask for help. However, he can only hear static. A flashback reveals that the previous day Hermit asked for termination of his contract because he wanted to go to med school. Sadly, it wasn't granted and he has to work 7 more months. Wendy saw all this on the camera, so she hacked into the robot clerk and made it say a joke. Everyone in the control room freaked out about this power of hers, so Wendy had to put the robot back on normal. When Kirsch's team arrives at the crash site, Wendy keeps hearing a weird sound that nobody else hears. She hacks into the security cameras and learns that her brother is stuck in the elevator, so she rushes into the building. The noise is stronger inside and she can sense there's something around. Kirsch makes Slightly follow her while he enters the building with the rest of the lost boys. Kirsch's team soon enters the ship and finds some alien plants stuck on the ceiling. They also find the drained bodies and watch the leech alien run away full of blood. A cat drinking blood from the floor has an eyeball creature on its face, but the poor kitty dies when the eyeball alien jumps out. It tries to attack Nibs and she blocks it with her hands before throwing it on the table, where they capture it in a tray. Kirsch connects the computer to his body and learns that this was a research vessel. As Hermit wanders around, he bumps into Bergerfeld and they continue the search together. They knock on an apartment and discover a costume party, but the host refuses to evacuate. At that moment, the xenomorph appears and quickly kills Bergerfeld to then shake his body around. This accidentally activates Bergerfeld's gun and the gunshots send the host back inside in panic. The door is left open and the xenomorph crashes the party to start killing the guests after throwing Bergerfeld's body at Hermit. The room is now full of chopped bodies. Once there are no guests left, the xenomorph jumps off the balcony to try to kill Hermit too, but suddenly Morrow appears and stuns the creature with his electrical gun. Then Morrow stuns Hermit too before covering the xenomorph with a special cocoon to drag it away. When Morrow reaches the elevator, he's surrounded by Prodigy soldiers who try to arrest him. Their argument gives the xenomorph time to wake up and break through the cocoon to then kill them all. It gets ready to kill Morrow too, but it hears voices and runs away. In the corridor, Toodles is watching the mysterious plant extend a vine and put it too close to his face, but it doesn't attack. Toodles walks past it and rejoins the others. Kirsch is still looking at the computer files and finds footage of a creepy egg patch, so he tells Wendy on the earpiece to go find them. He also reads on the computer that 5 undiscovered species are aboard. Cavalier contacts him and asks him to bring all the living species they can find to Neverland. When Hermit wakes up, he looks around the expensive apartment and finds a signed baseball that reminds him of his childhood. At that moment, he's found by Wendy and Slightly, who convince him to come with them. The trio takes the elevator, unaware there's something in the shaft. As they walk down the corridor, Wendy tells Hermit her real identity. Hermit has trouble believing her and asks questions about their childhood to make her prove it. When Wendy answers everything perfectly, a crying Hermit hugs her. Then the trio finds the egg patch and Wendy can hear the strange sound. An egg moves only when Hermit is near. The xenomorph suddenly bursts into the room and tackles Hermit through a hole, so Wendy rushes after them. Following the strange noise, Wendy finds Hermit in a shipping container and goes inside while ignoring his warnings about a trap. She quickly frees Hermit from a cocoon while the xenomorph peeks inside. It growls at them before walking away. The siblings hear the alien walking on top of the container and Wendy waits for the right moment to stab the ceiling to hurt the creature. Its blood leaks through and makes a hole in the ceiling because it's acidic. Then the xenomorph pushes the container until it falls, and Hermit loses sight of Wendy. The creature grabs him and throws him out before crawling on top of him. It releases its inner jaw to kill him, only for Wendy to pull it away with a hook. She drags it toward the door and Hermit closes it with a button, which cuts off the alien's inner jaw. The furious xenomorph grabs Wendy and drags her in before the door finishes closing. Hermit bites the cables behind the button to force the door to open again, and he's shocked to discover that the xenomorph has been decapitated. Wendy collapses as her head leaks a white substance. After throwing up, Hermit passes out too. Meanwhile, Slightly finds the shedding of a xenomorph. He gets scared when he hears a noise, but it's just Smee looking for him. While they discuss the eggs, Morrow surprises them from behind and threatens to shoot them if they don't cooperate. Then he connects the computer to his brain and copies all the data from the ship. Morrow transforms his arm into a blade and pushes Slightly while asking when is a machine not a machine? He's interrupted by Kirsch, who recognizes him as the only crew survivor. Kirsch and Morrow have an argument over who the ship belongs to now. At that moment, one of the eggs opens, so Morrow jumps through the hole in the wall to escape. Afterward, Prodigy picks up the lost boys, the rescue team, and the alien samples to take them to Neverland. While Sylvia operates on Wendy to fix her, Cavalier takes a look at the aliens. Kirsch worries when he sees an egg opening and drags him away. They realize the eggs only react when there's organic life in front of them, so Cavalier puts Kirsch in charge of the aliens and locks down the lab to only synthetics. Cavalier's right hand Adam interrogates the boys about what they saw, revealing that their eyes have cameras. In the evening, Morrow manages to sneak into the city. He steals a phone from a random bystander and calls Yutani, the CEO of Wayland Yutani Corporation. He tells her that he has the data but not the creatures, but he plans to get them back because they're his life's work. Sometime later, Slightly hears Morrow's voice in his head. It turns out Morrow attached a device on Slightly's neck when he pushed him so they could have a personal communication line. Morrow shares that he used to have a daughter and asks Slightly to be his friend. He only hangs up when Slightly agrees. Meanwhile, Wendy wakes up feeling better and continues to hear the weird sound, so she follows it. In the lab, Kirsch and two lost boys cut into the egg to find an alien known as Facehugger. As the creature squirms, the noise gets worse and hurts Wendy's ears. She rushes to the lab and watches Kirsch cut the Facehugger open. When he removes a parasite from its body, the noise gets so bad that Wendy collapses. In the operating room, the doctors operate on Hermit and remove one of his lungs, which is preserved in a tube. Kirsch comes in and drops the parasite into the tank, so it embeds itself in the lung. Later, Hermit checks on Wendy and Cavalier teases him about his new lung. Wendy tells everyone that the noise comes from the aliens and she believes they chose her to talk to her. They run some tests on her ears and Cavalier asks her to recreate the alien sounds. Wendy does so perfectly, which creeps everyone out. Slightly goes on a hike so he can talk to Morrow in private. Morrow shares his full name to gain Slightly's trust and asks him to bring him an egg, claiming that's the moral thing to do. At the same time, Kirsch watches footage of Slightly and notices something on his neck. When Slightly comes back, he finds Kirsch waiting in his room. Kirsch reminds him that if anybody sees or hears anything, it's their obligation to report it. In the lab, the eye alien is put in a glass case with a sheep. It jumps on the sheep's head and quickly kills it by ripping out its eye before burrowing in its place. Kirsch notes the creature's high intelligence as it reanimates the corpse as a parasite. Lead technician Arthur takes his wife Sylvia to the woods so they can talk without cameras. Arthur disapproves of the alien's presence and admits a genuine worry that they killed 6 kids to create a hyper-advanced AI. An argument ensues until they're interrupted by Nibs, who says she's pregnant. Arthur explains it's impossible for a mechanical body, but she insists it's real. Sylvia takes Nibs to her office and tells her how babies are made. Nibs already knew this and reminds her about Jesus' case. When Sylvia tries to show her a diagram, Nibs aggressively kicks it down. Sylvia then tries to ask about what happened in the spaceship and Nibs snaps as she jumps on top of her. A terrified Sylvia presses the silent alarm and soon guards arrive to take Nibs back to her room. Sylvia tells the guards that they're in a level 3 event. Adam tries to get Hermit to talk about Wendy and he refuses. When Adam reminds him that answering questions is on his contract, Hermit tries to quit, only for Adam to point out that this location is confidential, so if Hermit quits, he'll have to leave and not see his sister again. Also, if Hermit goes home, he'll be billed for the new lung. Hermit has no choice but to agree to stay. At the same time, Cavalier tells Wendy that he'll send Hermit home, so she agrees to help him with the xenomorph research in exchange for letting Hermit stay. When Slightly goes to the lab to get an egg, he bumps into Toodles, so he has to leave the plan for later. Kirsch logs onto a computer to spy on Slightly, revealing he can hear his conversations with Morrow. Slightly tries to tell Morrow that he wants out, only for Morrow to reveal he's at Slightly's home with his mother, who had thought her son was dead. Afraid that his family may get hurt, Slightly agrees to keep on working for Morrow, who tells him to take a human to the lab so the facehugger can infect them. That way Morrow can take the sample from that person. Later, Wendy goes to the lab and repeats the weird noises to try to communicate with the alien in Hermit's lung. Suddenly, a baby xenomorph bursts out of the lung and breaks through the glass to escape. Wendy continues to recreate the noises and manages to pet the baby while Kirsch watches her nearby. A flashback shows the crew of the Maginot getting in their cryopod 17 days from Earth. Morrow is woken up by Clem, who reveals that there was a fire and 2 facehuggers escaped. One killed Captain Dinsdale, and the second attached itself to Bronsky. Morrow rushes to the infirmary and learns that Dinsdale died because some crew members killed the facehugger to remove it and it bled acid right on the captain's face. Bronsky is still alive, so they agree to put him into cryosleep with the creature. Shemuel tells Morrow the damage to their navigation is so bad that the ship has become more like a missile than a vessel under control. Morrow now is sure that there's a saboteur on the ship. After Bronsky is put to sleep, Morrow investigates the fire and finds a hole in the floor that goes through several levels. Then he watches the security footage of the facehuggers attacking their victims and notices an unknown person in the background. Next, Morrow tells the engineers that the saboteur may be sneaking through the ducts, so he needs to see the ship's blueprints. He also gets guns for Clem and himself for protection. The communication files with Earth have been corrupted and deleted, so Clem is running a recovery program. Later, Morrow looks over his personal effects while remembering his daughter. She passed away in year 8 of the mission, which the company communicated to him with just a cold letter. Shemuel lets Morrow and Zaveri know that their fuel reserves are down to 8%, so the saboteur knows what they're doing. Suddenly an alarm rings to announce there's been a cryopod breach. Morrow and Zaveri rush to check and discover that the facehugger killed Bronsky and then escaped by breaking the pod glass. Morrow gives Zaveri an electric stun gun and Rahim says they should wake up more crew members, but Morrow refuses to avoid chaos. In the lab, Chibuzo is feeding the other aliens and doesn't see how the leech alien opens the capsule to escape. The eye creature notices that and bangs on its container, so an annoyed Chibuzo puts it away. The leech uses the distraction to spray parasites in Chibuzo's water bottle and hide in the bread. Rahim comes in just in time to see it and puts it back in the capsule. After the humans leave, the eye alien pounds on its container until it falls and breaks, allowing it to escape. The awakened crew gathers to discuss the situation and Malachite drinks from Chibuzo's water bottle. Morrow lets them know that he's taken out the guns and if anyone who provides information leading to an arrest will receive an extra share. Soon Malachite begins puking blood and collapses. At the same time, Chibuzo notices that the eye alien escaped. Noises can be heard in the furniture and the alarm goes off, so she seals the lab. Morrow talks to Tang, who reveals that the computer may say a cryopod is full, but that doesn't mean it actually is all the time. Desperate to know who else is awake, Morrow goes through all the crew's calls to Earth and finally discovers that Petrovich has been in contact with Cavalier. If Petrovich could land the Maginot in Prodigy territory, Cavalier promised to give Petrovich a new body. Morrow rushes to the cryopods and confirms that Petrovich isn't in his. Afterward, he goes to the medical bay for an update on Malachite. A quick scan reveals dark spots in his digestive tract. He's bleeding too much and too fast, so Rahim and Chibuzo have to operate on him. When they open him up, they notice some foreign bodies and assume it's ticks. They remove the first one only for the tick to spray a gas that immediately kills Rahim, Chibuzo, and Malachite. The others hurry to seal the room while the alien bugs leave Malachite's body. Meanwhile, Tang notices some saliva falling on his head, and when he looks up he sees the xenomorph about to attack. Minutes later, Clem informs the others that Tang is dead. Morrow takes command of the ship and makes plans to get to Earth faster. Clem and Morrow go down the corridor and are blocked by Petrovich, who opens fire at them. A shootout ensues and Clem gets hurt, so Morrow drags him into a lab to hide him. Unfortunately, Petrovich finds them and shoots Clem in the head. Morrow shoots back to hurt his face before leaving through the other door. Now he can surprise Petrovich from behind and kill him with his blade. Since Morrow left the door open, the eye alien escapes the lab and the leeches feed on Clem. By the medical bay, the xenomorph lands behind Zaveri and hits her legs with its tail to make her fall. Zaveri immediately starts running and closes doors behind her, but the xenomorph just opens them and continues to chase her. In another room, Zaveri finds a blowtorch and starts sealing the door. Shemuel is standing there, and when he turns around, he reveals the eye alien is controlling him. At that moment, the xenomorph reaches the door, but it can't open it, so it leaves. Morrow comes out of the ducts and presses a button before raising the door with his bare hands. Inside, he finds Zaveri on the ground and Shemuel staring at him. When Shemuel makes a strange noise, it gets the attention of the xenomorph, who quickly returns. Morrow stuns Shemuel with his gun and runs to lock himself up in the computer room. Shemuel starts fighting the xenomorph, who stabs him multiple times with its tail. The body is useless, so the eye alien jumps out and grabs the xenomorph's face. Zaveri uses the chance to run away, but when he asks Morrow for help, he seals the door with a blowtorch before hiding in the impact room, leaving Zaveri to die to the xenomorph's attack. Soon the ship crashes on Earth. Days later, Morrow meets with Yutani and promises to take the alien samples back. He also plans to kill Cavalier. In the present, the baby xenomorph has been locked up, but Wendy keeps visiting it to communicate with it. Hermit is worried about his sister's future and Kirsch says he's limiting her. In private, Hermit tells Wendy that he's looking for a way for them to escape, but Wendy doesn't want to leave and defends the aliens. Meanwhile, Nibs is getting tested, but the scientists can't figure out why she thinks she's pregnant. Sylvia thinks it's PTSD from the alien attack and mentions therapy, however Adam wants her mind wiped. Arthur protests against the idea and even threatens to quit, but Sylvia says she can do it, so Adam fires Arthur. Yutani and Cavalier meet and argue about the Maginot crash, blaming each other for it. Cavalier claims that Yutani has been smuggling aliens and Yutani offers $20 billion above the mediation sum to get the samples back. He agrees but will hold the creatures until the 6-week quarantine is over. In the afternoon, Nibs wakes up in her room without memories of the past few days. Wendy chats with her and quickly realizes something is wrong. Nibs gets very anxious by her questions and Wendy leaves to confront Sylvia for what she did. She explains she feels betrayed and disapproves of the experiments on the aliens. When Sylvia asks what is wrong so she can fix it, Wendy says that Sylvia is the problem. In his room, Hermit is working on an escape plan when he's approached by Slightly, who keeps hearing Morrow in his head telling him to hurry. Slightly tries to make Hermit come with him to the lab but they're interrupted by Rashidi, who takes Hermit away for patrol. While the team is patrolling, Hermit keeps asking questions about the island's security and Siberian grows suspicious, so she advises him to drop whatever he's planning. In the lab, Wendy keeps talking to the xenomorph, who is growing very fast. Later, Toodles is given the task to feed the aliens but goes alone to the lab instead of taking help like Kirsch wanted. He inserts a tray of food in each cell, only to accidentally break one of the hatches. He has no choice but to open the actual cell to put the tray inside. The eye alien in the sheep uses the chance to startle Toodles and makes him fall, so the door closes behind him. An alien bug lands on Toodles' arm and spits acid on his face, killing him to feed on him. While Arthur is packing, Hermit approaches him with some questions about Prodigy. Aware that they're on camera, Arthur gets a computer to write a message. He tells him to escape with Wendy and gives him a code for a boat. He also disables the trackers on all the lost boys. After Hermit leaves, the computer announces that Toodles isn't connected. Slightly tries to enter the lab but he isn't brave enough to do it. At that moment, Arthur shows up and opens the door to look for Toodles, so Slightly follows him. Arthur rushes to the body and Slightly uses the chance to open the egg cell before leaving. When Arthur hears an egg doing something strange, he rushes to the door only to discover that Slightly has locked him in. Then Arthur tries to call security but at that moment a newborn facehugger jumps on his head. Kirsch watches everything on the cameras but doesn't tell Cavalier. Once Arthur collapses, Slightly goes back inside and drags his body into the vent. Minutes later they're in Slightly's room, where he moves the facehugger just enough to feed Arthur. However, this only causes the creature's tail to tighten around Arthur's neck. Smee comes to the room and Slightly can't keep him out, so he sees the body under the bed and panics. Slightly pushes Smee against the wall and explains his family is under threat, which convinces him to help. In the lab, the alien bugs have left the cell and are wrecking the equipment. Kirsch sends soldiers inside to stun the bugs and recapture them. When Wendy also comes and she's devastated to find Toodles dead. She wants to warn the others, but Cavalier and Kirsch ask her to keep the secret. The guards block the door when she tries to leave, so Wendy talks to the xenomorph, who starts pounding on the cell door. Everyone is so shocked that she manages to get out. A worried Cavalier orders Kirsch to find the other lost boys before Wendy, but checking the computer reveals the trackers are off. Hermit finds Wendy and tells her it's time to escape, but Wendy wants to bring the lost boys with them. She convinces Nibs to come but Curly wants to stay. The group makes her promise she won't tell on them. Then Wendy uses a screen to hack into the lab and release the xenomorph from its cell. The creature immediately starts killing the scientists. The alarm starts echoing in the building and Kirsch finds Slightly and Smee sneaking around with Arthur's body. Instead of stopping them, he tells them the easiest route to the beach and advises them not to be late. In the woods, Nibs and the siblings find some graves. They realize these are the original names and bodies of the kids whose minds were put into the hybrids. Hermit sees soldiers in the distance and makes the group move faster. Slightly and Smee are also crossing the woods and hide in the bushes when they see the soldiers. Once the road is clear, they turn around and discover that Arthur's gone. Suddenly the facehugger falls dead from a tree and Arthur appears in the bushes looking perfectly normal. He doesn't remember anything, so the boys tell him the building is being evacuated and convince him to go to the beach with them. Minutes later at the beach, Arthur starts seeing flashes of what happened and realizes everything is wrong. He grabs the boys' hands and starts taking them back to the facility, promising that he can help them. Suddenly Arthur freezes and spits blood as he collapses. Then the alien chestburster erupts from his chest, killing Arthur and splashing blood all over the boys. The chestburster runs into the woods and Slightly tries to follow it but quickly loses sight of it. Then Slightly begins dragging Arthur's body to the meeting spot. After a long walk in the water, the boys find a group of Wayland Yutani soldiers led by Morrow. While a second soldier team reaches another beach, Morrow is disappointed to see that the chestburster is gone and tells his men to capture the boys. In the facility, Cavalier keeps trying to talk to the alien and the sheep in many different languages. It only reacts when Cavalier writes the number for pi. It stomps on the ground to represent each number and finishes by pooping. Cavalier realizes he should put the alien in a human body to be able to talk to it. Prodigy's soldiers go out and quickly capture the chestbuster with a net. When Morrow's team tries to sneak into the facility, they're immediately surrounded by soldiers and captured. Nibs and the siblings are still crossing the woods when they're surrounded by the second Weyland-Yutani team. Wendy makes some noises and the xenomorph jumps out of a tree to attack the soldiers, killing them all in seconds. Then it approaches Wendy and she gently pets its head while telling it to hide and follow. The alien immediately hides in the bushes. Hermit takes a gun from one of the bodies but is disturbed by all this death. Eventually the trio makes it to the docks and gets on the boat, only to find Siberian and Rashidi waiting with more soldiers. A man takes Nib's favorite toy from her hands and throws it in the water, so she responds by ripping the guy's jaw off. A fight ensues and Nibs and Wendy easily bring down a few soldiers thanks to their robotic bodies. Then Wendy tries to call the xenomorph but Hermit stops her. Siberia manages to shoot Nibs in the shoulder and Nibs gets ready for revenge. Desperate to save his friend, Hermit shocks Nibs to bring her down and Wendy gets angry with him. Now the soldiers can capture them while the xenomorph watches from the bushes. On the beach, Arthur's body washes up and is found by the xenomorph. It keeps exploring the area and sees Sylvia leaving flowers at the graves. The alien tries to attack her but soldiers open fire and it's forced to run away. Soon it's running all over the island, killing any human it can find. Cavalier is informed that comms are down because Morrow cut some cables and Yutani is jamming the satellites. More and more teams are sent out to hunt the xenomorph, yet the alien always kills them first. The rest of the aliens are still in their cells and the lost boys have been locked up together. Nibs thinks Curly snitched on them but she denies it. Adam tells Cavalier they should evacuate, but Cavalier is more interested in watching Wendy and the sheep. When Nibs makes a sarcastic comment about them being ghosts, Wendy remembers that humans should be afraid of hybrids. She disables the cameras with her hacking power and makes a bunch of sounds that are heard by the xenomorph in the distance. Then she plays videos of the Lost Boys' original bodies on Sylvia's computer to make her feel guilty about her empty promises of love and support. A frustrated Sylvia throws the screen to break it. Rashidi's team is heading to the armory to get more weapons and is startled by the elevator opening on its own. They get in and the elevator only goes down for a few seconds before it freezes. Suddenly the lights go out and a computer voice announces the start of the self-destruct sequence. This is all being controlled by Wendy, who watches the soldiers struggle on the security cameras. The team is working together to escape through the ceiling and Wendy gets bored, so she makes the elevator work normally again. Then Wendy watches Hermit in the cell with Morrow and thinks about how lonely she used to be when he left for work during the war. Smee tells Wendy that Nibs was out of control and that Hermit is one of them. Wendy feels bad and unlocks the guy's cell. Morrow slams the door on the guard and starts beating him up, but Hermit stops him from killing him. Morrow takes the guard's gun before leaving. In the lab, Morrow tries to surprise Kirsch, who hears him and shoots first. The men quickly disarm each other and start fighting hand to hand. After exchanging a bunch of blows, Morrow manages to bring Kirsch down on a table, breaking his body in two. Morrow gets ready to shoot Kirsch in the head but gets distracted when he hears an alien escape. Kirsch uses the chance to bring him down and chokes him until he passes out. Wendy hears Cavalier coming and calls the xenomorph again to guide him inside. She then opens the cell and asks Cavalier to share his story. He tells them his father was a drunk but he was born a genius, so he built his first robot to kill his dad. The Lost Boys start surrounding Cavalier and his guard tries to stop them, but Nibs jumps on him and beats him to death. A terrified Cavalier runs away while Wendy gives each of his friends a target. In a corridor, the xenomorph is already killing soldiers. While Nibs finds Sylvia, Smee and Slightly get to Kirsch and tie him up. Morrow tells them he hasn't hurt their families but Slightly knocks him out anyway. Adam finds Hermit first and convinces him to come to the office by claiming that Wendy is waiting. Hermit discovers that the container is open and the sheep is staring at him outside. The alien jumps out and Hermit rushes to hide inside the container, closing it just in time. Then the alien goes inside through the food hatch and Hermit is forced to run out. When the creature jumps again, Hermit blocks it with his hands. At that moment Wendy bursts through the window and slaps the monster off her brother. Hermit grabs a weapon to kill it but Adam returns and knocks him out. Wendy tries to fight Adam, who is stronger and easily throws her off. The alien is about to get Hermit, so Wendy rushes ahead to kick it away. When Adam is about to get her, Wendy uses her hacking power to freeze him, since he has a robotic body too. The alien escapes through a hole in the floor while the siblings argue over what happened to Nibs. Wendy admits she likes the aliens because they're honest. Cavalier makes a call to offer $1 million to whoever dares rescue him. The xenomorph suddenly appears to block his way and soldiers rush in to defend him. However, the siblings also show up and Wendy gives out orders. The xenomorph kills all the guards while Hermit knocks Cavalier out. In the lab, the alien plant appears above Siberia and quickly swallows her whole. The other soldiers open fire to no avail. Then Curly comes in and knocks Rashidi out. On the beach, the alien gets inside Arthur's body. Soon Weyland-Yutani planes arrive at the island for recovery. The Lost Boys put Cavalier, Morrow, Kirsch, Sylvia, and Adam in a cell while Wendy scolds them for experimenting on children. She also tells Cavalier that he isn't different from his father. Both the baby and the adult xenomorphs appear outside the cell and Wendy announces that now they'll rule.